Say their name. Rashawn Charles, Mark Duggan, Darren Cumberbatch, Edson DaCosta, Adrian McDonald, Nunu Cardoso, Olaseni Lewis, Sean Rigg, Daniel Adewole, Trevor Smith, Julian Cole, Sarah Reed, Jermaine Baker, Sheku Bayo, Kevin Clark, Leon Briggs, Anthony Granger, Kingsley Burrell, Belly Mujina, Jacob Michael, Z. Mohammed Daly, Derek Bennett, Azel Rodney. These people have a very unfortunate thing in common, and that thing is that they are all victims of police brutality in the United Kingdom. I've seen a lot of rhetoric at the moment saying that the police brutality and the protests and everything that we're seeing is a US-centric problem and isn't a problem anywhere else. That's not true. That is 100% not true. Our police are just as bad, and we have just as much of a problem with police brutality, and it's just as much our responsibility to go out and to protest and to do something about this. I can't stress how ridiculously important it is, though all those names that you heard are victims, and these are just victims in the last few years of police brutality. I have a couple of more statistics just to hammer home the point of how bad police brutality and racial injustice towards Black people in our country is. You're 28 times more likely to be stopped and searched in London if you don't have white skin. 28 times more likely to be stopped and searched. Black people are tased at a rate of 3 times more than white people by the police. That's ridiculous to think about. And since 1990, 1,513 people have died in police custody or following police contact, and not a single police officer has been convicted for any one of their deaths. This is why I wanted to come on here today and just speak a little bit about why it's all of our collective responsibility to do something about this. It's not just an America problem. This is a problem across the world. And if I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and on Facebook saying things like, I'm so glad I'm from the UK, or I'm so glad I'm European. And unfortunately, we're not really in a position where we could say anything like that. Our police officers are just as racist. Our society is just as racist and just as anti-Black as it is in America. 1,513 people since 1990. And a large majority of those people are Black people and people of color. And this is something that we need to do something about. So I urge everyone, donate whatever you can to any charities you see, whether it's Reclaim the Block, which is what we're raising money for today, or local charities. If you know any local charities that help Black people and fight police brutality, it's an essential thing to do. But yeah, my name is Awais Hussain. I'm a friend of Eli's and of the band of Lippy. And yeah, I'm really grateful that Eli allowed me the opportunity to come on and talk today. I'm hoping to have a conversation about police brutality in the UK, police brutality in general. And I'd also like to take a moment just to speak on the racism and the colorism that we see a lot in South Asian communities. I'm Pakistani, so I have a lot of experience and I've witnessed it firsthand. And I think we can only fight for racial justice when we weed out this racism in our own communities. But I'd like to welcome back Eli onto the stream. He'll be popping back up in a second, hopefully, if everything goes well. But yeah, while we wait for Eli to come back, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's already donated. The last time I heard, we raised $67, which is amazing. Thank you so much. How's it going, Eli?
Hi, thank you so much for coming. That was great.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I think this is a ridiculously important thing to talk about. And the only way that we can combat it is by talking about it, I think, and protesting it and getting out there and being as vocal as possible. And I'm really glad to see you doing this stream. And I'm really glad to see all the people that I've seen on my own personal social media and stuff just speaking out and donating and raising awareness.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you've got to do something, and you like. It's not like we can go to the protests or something, you know. And there's so many people that we know that are not even acknowledging it on like their social media and stuff. And it's not like I just want to say like we're aware that you're doing that. We can see you doing that. People, not taking a side is obviously taking a side, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it in times of injustice, if you're being silent, you're siding with the oppressor. That is a very popular quote that's been said many times, but it's so true. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't afford to stay silent, and I think the people who are staying silent really need to reevaluate where they're coming from and really take a stand, because this is not a small issue. This is not a localized issue to one place that we can stay out of. Police brutality and brutality against black people specifically is an issue across the world. I mean, it's a huge problem, and it's something that can only be beaten if we all come together and we all fight it together, and we all speak out and we all go to the protests and that kind of thing. It's not something that just the people in Minneapolis or just the people in LA or just the people in America can fight. This is all of our fight at the end of the day, because if we really want to live in an equal world, that's what we need to do.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, Reclaim the Block is an excellent charity, by the way, and you should all keep donating.
Reclaim the block.
That's isn't that what I said?
I think. Oh, sorry, I misheard you
I
then.
there's a link in the chat, and I can paste it again at some point. But yeah, Reclaim the Block is an
Yeah,
is an excellent charity, and they do a lot of good work over in America. And yeah, it is our responsibility at the end of the day to help marginalized people and to help the Black community to beat racism.
yeah, absolutely. And we've got the protest coming up in Leeds, aren't we, on the 7th?
Yeah,
We're going
absolutely.
to talk a bit about that later. I've got some stuff written down. Or we could just do it now. We might as well do it now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's you can find it on Twitter, and the account is BLM Leeds and then the number one. They're accepting donations on PayPal at the moment. They need it for food, water, masks, stuff like that they're going to have at the protests. Sunday, 7th of June, that's in Hyde Park in Leeds. They're going to be social distancing, and they're especially looking for people with medical experience. So anyone that can do first aid and things like that. And then you're also doing your own stream on Twitch as well.
I am, yeah. I'm doing a stream on Twitch because I'm a part of a lot of Twitch communities and gaming communities in general.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I've not seen enough people come out and speak out about it. It's really upsetting to see so many people silent about such a big issue. So I wanted to be the change that I want to see, and I decided I wanted to do a charity stream on Twitch for the Black Lives Matter Fund. And I'm going to be going for about 4 to 5 hours. I've got loads of incentives lined up. My goal is $100, which I think is something that I can, and all the people that I know can definitely do. And yeah, it's going to be good. There's going to be giveaways. There's going to be, ooh, just hit my mic. There's going to be me doing lots of stupid things like eating an onion live on stream,
Oh yeah.
and eating a lemon if we get to $1,000 raised.
Is that with
And
the peel?
yeah, with the peel, it's going to
Cool,
be
yeah.
grim. But
Yeah,
you
I've
know
done it.
what? It's for a good cause, and if that's what it takes, if it takes me making myself look like an idiot on the internet to raise money for a good cause, I'll do it 10 times over.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm more than happy to do that. But
Yeah.
but yeah, you'll be able to find that on twitch.tv/awaish. It's AWAISH, and that's twitch.tv/awaish. It'd be really nice to see people come down and donate, and just, even if you can't donate, just come hang out, post the stream, post the links on your social media, get people involved, because even if you can't donate, um, there might be people who can. There might be people on your social media who can. And I understand it is a very tough time right now with jobs and stuff due to the pandemic. But if you post a link on your social media, there could be two, three, maybe even 5, 10 people on your social media who can donate. And again, it is an amazing, very important cause that needs to be talked about. And yeah, that's why I want to do that. Like I said, unfortunately, a lot of gaming spaces and online gaming spaces, especially, are really white dominated
Yeah.
spaces. There's not a lot of people of color there. There's not a lot of black people there. And what that's led to is that when something like this does happen and we're trying to raise awareness and that kind of thing, a lot of people have stayed silent. And I think that's unacceptable. Which is why I wanted to do something about it. On my stream, I want to raise awareness, first of all. I want people to, understand what's going on, why we're raising the money, and why we're doing it, and why Black people are protesting. I want to talk about why people are out there, because unfortunately, a lot of people aren't completely aware of what's going on and why people are out there and why people are fighting these systems. A lot of people, I've noticed that, because of their own privilege, just don't realize what's happening. I mean, um, a lot of white people uh, aren't victims of profiling and injustice and brutality when it comes to the police. So you get into this kind of mindset that, oh, the police officers are nice to me, they treat me well, so there are no issues,
Yeah.
and that's, unfortunately, that is not the reality. There's a lot going on. There's a lot that people don't see. I mean, in the recent cases, I mean, there was the case of Amy Cooper, where she called the police on an African American gentleman, and she specifically said in her phone call, she said, "There's an African American gentleman trying to attack me," and the reason why she did that, she was weaponizing her privilege as a white
Yeah.
woman, and the reason why she did that was because she knew if she pointed out that gentleman's race in her phone call, the police would be more likely to come and they'd be more likely to use force. I mean, the thing that upsets me is if there weren't videos of Amy Cooper making that phone call, if there wasn't a video of that police officer with his knee on George Floyd's neck, would we be here right now?
Yeah.
Would we be in a position where that woman lost her job, or that police officer has been arrested and charged? I don't think we would, unfortunately, because there's so much that happens that just doesn't get talked about because there's no video camera there, and it just kind of gets brushed under the rug, and it's really unfortunate. And again, you have to remember, these are people. It's very easy to become desensitized to, like, the numbers. Like, you hear, oh, there's been, I don't know, like 100 people in the past few years who have died from police brutality. That's a huge amount of people.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just stop for a second and try and visualize 100 people, that's insane. And then when you add to that each of these people has their own ripple effect, they're people, they're human beings, they have families, they have friends, uh, and to lose that, to police brutality is disgusting. These are the people who are meant to be out there protecting the Black community and protecting everyone and serving them, and they don't do that. It's a broken system that unfairly targets minorities. I mean, one of the stats that I brought up earlier today, just to keep it a little bit, just to illustrate the point of why we need to have these protests and these screams and these talks here as well. 1,513 people. That's a ridiculous amount of people.
Yeah.
Those are each human beings in their own right, who we have unfortunately lost to police brutality. These are things that definitely need to change. And
Yeah.
I think something that's really important is not only us speaking out, but raising up prominent Black voices in the community. You know, we need to listen to their experiences. We need to listen to what they're saying, how they want us to help them. And we have to change something, really. I think that's the biggest point. If I could hammer one home, something has to change. We can't keep going on like this. We can't be in a position where we forget about this in a couple of weeks because of the news cycle, and then we end up in a situation where we lose another Black life. I can't stand by and let that happen. And
Yeah.
I don't think anyone should stand by and let that happen. You know, we should never be in a position where it takes losing another Black life to get people talking about this again. This is a movement that needs to keep going, that we need to keep talking about. And yeah, these are just some of the thoughts that I'm having. What about yourself, Eli?
Man, I mean, I can't say anything as impactful as what you're saying. I'm really grateful you've come on and said all that. I mean, it's like you say, it's really hard to not get overwhelmed by the numbers. You know, 1,513, is it, people?
Yeah.
Like that's you can't imagine that many people, and then for no one to have been convicted, it's like, and then this, it seems to happen every few years. We'll get like you know, it's like every time this happens, there's this yeah, I'll say outrage, but you know, whether it is or not, but and then it goes away, and then it starts again, and then I feel like, you know, it's become now. It got announced or worked out whatever yesterday that it's the largest civil rights movement of all time now.
Yeah.
And it really does feel this time like it's kind of like, this is it. This is the, you know, something's got to change right now, or this is going to keep happening. It's going to keep cycling around, spiking up and down. People are going to mourn someone for 2 days on their Twitter account. They're going to post a couple of tweets and then they're going to forget about it, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's where we come in. It's our responsibility to make sure that it keeps getting talked about. And, you know, like you said, we don't want this to be a situation where people people mourn the death of George Floyd and then we forget about it in a week. We can't let that happen. This is, yeah, that is where we come in. It's our responsibility to keep talking about this and to make a fuss about it
Yeah.
and keep it on the forefront. You know, this is such an important issue. I mean, it boggles the mind that we're in 2020 and we still have issues like this. I mean, yesterday I watched a speech from Malcolm X talking about how Black people will get murdered by the police, and then the police will make it seem like it's the Black person's fault. That was 55 years ago, and I mean, what's changed? We're here now, and you see pretty much the exact same thing happening now. And yeah, we can't let it keep happening. It is our responsibility to constantly, you know, keep talking about it, keep it at the forefront. And one thing that I have noticed is I've seen some people saying that they're fed up, you know, of seeing it after these last few days where it's been at the forefront. To those
Really?
people, yeah, I have seen tweets saying that they're sick of hearing about it and everything. Do you know who's actually fed up? Black people are fed up. They're
Yeah.
fed up of seeing their brothers and sisters being murdered out on the streets. You don't get to be fed up for people tweeting or people posting Facebook statuses. The real people who are fed up are the people whose community is out there being brutalized by the police. And it's our responsibility to make sure that never happens again. We need to make sure that this is this is it, you know. We can't, it's shameful that it's gone on this long, but we need to make sure that it doesn't continue, you know. It's not a thing that keeps happening. And yeah, we can do that. I think a lot of people have unfortunately been feeling quite powerless, and in a sense I do understand where people are coming from, you know, where like you feel quite small as a person, but people have such a huge amount of power, you know. There's so much stuff you can do. You can donate, you can raise awareness, you can sign the petitions, you can mobilize, organize, get out there on the streets, you know. you can make you can make your presence heard with your wallet. That's another thing
Yeah,
that, you know, that a lot of people realize. These big companies and these big corporations, they only understand money. So speak with your wallet, you know. If you feel like you can't help in other ways, support black businesses, black owned and black run businesses. Support them, and don't give your money to, you know, companies that have these racist CEOs and that kind of thing. There's
yeah,
so much that we could do, and it's up to us, really. At the end of the day, it just comes down to us, to get out there and to, you know, take to the streets and to fight in solidarity, because this isn't the the black community themselves. They can't do it by themselves. We all need to pitch in, you know. It's our moral responsibility to pitch in.
yeah,
um
absolutely.
yeah, and yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And yeah, I don't know if I'm like running long on my slot or
No,
anything.
no, no.
um there
Amazing.
are a couple of
Yeah,
other things that I wanted to discuss. I think it is incredibly important to call out racism and colorism, especially against black people, wherever you see it, because again, that is hugely important in changing public attitudes, you know.
yeah,
Like I said, I come from a South Asian background. I'm Pakistani, and unfortunately, racism and colorism is very rife in our communities. So how how can we what can we do to stop that? Well, it's our job to call it out, you know. Whenever you see it, you see, if your friends or family members or anyone like that is making those comments, it's your job to educate them. And if they don't listen to being educated, it's your responsibility to cut them off. We have to do something. We can't, you know, we can't just sit here and do nothing. And it's our responsibility to weed this out in our communities and our little bubbles, and then kind of branch out from there. That's how these movements start. um, and yeah, like I said, unfortunately, it is quite common in my community, and I know there are a lot of viewers here who will likely be, you know, English, white, and that applies to you guys as well. You know, you have to speak out. You have to say something. If you're at work and you hear someone being racist, it's your responsibility to call it out, to report it, to do something. If your family members are being racist, it's your responsibility to call them out, to try and educate them. And if they don't listen, you have to take further measures. Honestly, it's not it's not just people of color and black people who have to do this. This is our collective responsibility. And to be completely honest, black people and people of color can't do this by themselves. A lot of people who are racist won't say things in front of black people, or they won't make their racist views, and they won't talk about them in front of black people and people of color. It's they're aware that if they say things in front of us, it could lead to something for them. So it's your responsibility that if there are people in your spaces, in your friendship groups, in your family, in your workplaces, in your places of education, in your places of worship, if there's racism, colorism, it's your job to call it out. It's my job to call it out. It's our job to call it out. And it's our job to make sure that it becomes less of a problem and to fight this. And yeah, there's a million other ways of that you can help. There's a million things you can do. I've seen a lot of people say, you know, I don't have money, unfortunately, I can't donate, so there's nothing I can do. That's completely incorrect. I mean, even if you can't donate, you can bring awareness to charities. There's so many amazing charities here in the UK, over in the US, and across the globe. You can bring attention to them. like I said earlier, you might not be able to, donate. I understand it is tough times, but there will be someone that who can, you know,
Yeah,
and it's your job to bring that awareness of those charities to them. It's your job to, sign the petitions, go to the protests. That doesn't cost anything, you know.
yeah, absolutely.
Your presence doesn't cost anything. It's your job to be there at those protests. If you're white and you know that you benefit from white privilege, it's your job to be there at the protest. And it's your job to get in between the police and the black people or the people of color, the people who are being targeted. It's our responsibility at the end of the day. And yeah, there's a million other things we can do as well, but the main thing is to to get out there, to organize, to mobilize, to make your voice heard, to get out there on the streets, to show solidarity, show those people in America, show the black people in the UK who are suffering from injustice and police brutality that they're not alone, because I think that's another big thing. I think you feel very alone, you feel like kind of singled out, this is something that affects the black community, but we need to show them that we will stand with them. It's not their battle. It is their battle, but we will help them with their battle. We will use our privilege to help rather than weaponize our privilege and hurt black people and people of color. And yeah, that's the main message that I wanna get across today. Um, Police brutality definitely is not a problem that is localized to just America. It's not a problem that is localized just to Minneapolis. Unfortunately, George Floyd is not the only victim of police brutality. We have to look in our own back garden, in our own country, in our own places, our own bubbles, our own social spheres, and we have to call it out. We have to do something. And I think that's the main point to get across is we can do something. We all have power. You might have no money in your bank account, and that's fine. There's still so many things you can do, signing petitions doesn't cost you a thing.
Yeah,
Um, Going to protests doesn't cost you a thing. Showing support, being vocal in support of the black community doesn't cost you a thing. Calling out injustice when you hear it and when you see it, and calling out racism and colorism doesn't cost you a penny. And that's what we need to do.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're so lucky to have social media. Like movements in the past, they've never had anything like this. So if we don't use it, that's such a disrespectful. It's so
Yeah,
disrespectful. We're so lucky to
absolutely.
have it, and we need to make use of it.
Yeah, it'll be a waste of the tools that we've been given, if we
Mhm.
don't do anything about it. And another thing that I just want to quickly touch on is that to the people who are more upset about buildings and the people rioting and that kind of thing
Yeah,
than they are about human life, you are completely incorrect. Buildings can be replaced. Human lives cannot. Target has insurance. They will replenish their stock. They will rebuild their building. George Floyd's family will not get their family member back. That is the biggest thing to take away from this. You can't be upset about buildings and property damage and that kind of thing. People are dying here, and those people will never be able to get their lives back. Their families will never be able to get their lives back. Those are people that are being lost. Buildings can be repaired, stock can be replenished, insurance claims can be made. It's our job to support people. And to the people who are saying that it could be done peacefully, black people have tried to do this peacefully. Colin Kaepernick took the knee during the NFL, during the national anthem in the NFL, and he was met with social media scorn. He was met with scorn in the media. He lost his job. Black people have been trying to do this peacefully for a very, very long time, but their voices haven't been heard. And if this is the way that they can get their voices heard, it's our job to support that.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
Yeah, it's no
You're
problem, dude.
so articulate and wonderful to listen to. We love you
It,
so much.
Yeah, it's something again that I'm very passionate about,
Yeah.
and yeah, I will be doing my own live stream, like I said, on twitch.tv. You can find me at twitch.tv/awaish. That's AWAISH, twitch.tv/awaish. I'll be doing a giveaway for a £50 gift voucher to whatever shop or online store that you want. So anyone who donates more than $10 will be eligible to enter that. We also have a one-of-one custom pin made by a good friend of mine, an artist who's donating that pin, and that'll be given to the person who has the largest single donation during my stream. And yeah, like I said, I have loads of incentives that are going to make me look like an absolute idiot on the internet. But if that's what it takes to raise money and to get money for the charity, I'm more than happy to oblige. I will
People
make
will pay
myself.
it too. I want to see you eat that lemon.
A lot of people want to see me eat that lemon, and the only way it's going to happen is if you donate
Yeah.
and you give as generously as you can. And it'd be amazing to see some crossover. People here. I've seen a lot of people in the comments, people donating. It'd be lovely to see you guys in that stream as well and giving as generously as you're giving today. And again, just a quick one. Thank you to everyone who has donated. I've seen a lot of people in chat saying that they've donated, and thank you so much. It is hugely important. And thank you for having me on, Eli.
No, thank you for coming. It's been great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You too. And yeah, good luck with the rest of the stream, guys.
Thank you.